Hey everybody, welcome back to the Own Your Good podcast. This is Dave, and today I'm with someone that I've known for a really long time. Her name is Ann Bergstrom, and I'll just let her introduce herself to you.
Hello, my name is Ann. I'm 37 years old. I am David's sister, little sister. I'm married with 3 dogs, and I'm an artist.
Awesome. So one of the things that I wanted to talk with Ann about today is the good that she has found in producing artwork. And we've had previous conversations about producing artwork. It can be a frustrating, scary experience because of how you feel when you produce it. But let's go back a little bit. When did you first start to realize, or when did you know that you were into art, whatever the production of that was? Drawing at home or, in class at school?
I would say back to, as early as elementary school, that was always my favorite subject, was art. I never took real professional art classes, but just growing up in school, elementary, junior high, high school, art was always my favorite subject.
Was there something, a style or a process that stuck out to you first? Was it just sketching and drawing with pencil, or did it I don't know what the word is.
I would say painting always caught my interest the very most. I was never good at sketching realistic fine lines, but painting was always fun, the abstract.
Because you can sort of fudge the lines a little bit, spread things out, or bring things in depending on the paintbrush, the paint.
Exactly. The messier the look, the more impressionistic I like that look.
Is that your preferred style now with the painting?
Oh, definitely. I prefer just kind of throwing paint on the canvas and seeing where it takes me, seeing where it goes. I really love Vincent van Gogh for that reason. He's very...
It seems like he has a lot of layers,
yes,
aside from the intense colors.
Yes, I like layers. I like layers of paint that you can actually see the paint on the canvas.
That's awesome. Have you physically done that, though? You said throw the paint on the canvas. Have you ever done, you see some of those commercials or whatever where somebody takes a bucket of paint and throws it. Have you ever done just splat?
Oh, I have done splat, definitely. I would love to have a studio big enough to just throw a can of paint and just see what it turns out as.
Yeah, awesome. Can you draw anything upside down? Like those guys that do portraits upside down?
What's funny is sometimes I'll paint something and it won't turn out the way I like, so I'll flip the canvas and then it turns into something else. Or my husband will always, anything I paint, he flips it upside down.
Just to see what it might look like?
Just to see what it looks like upside down.
That's cool. Awesome. So you've been into painting, you've been into art for a long time, and you've always considered yourself an artist. Is that true? You've seen yourself as a producer?
I've always seen myself as more creative than anything. I've gotten into art more recently over the past several years after I realized art could be a bigger passion in my life than I was letting it.
So you had enough time to realize, I want to pursue something that I enjoy and bring something extra to you.
Yes, definitely. I needed a hobby, and I thought, why aren't I getting into art like I used to love? So
cool.
Yeah.
So you've been painting for several years now, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
probably been about 4 years or so.
And what have you done with it? Is it just for you?
I've created an art website, which is really fun. I've considered selling art on a website like Etsy. I just haven't really gotten the guts to do that yet.
So let's go back a couple steps. You have a website where you show your art, and what is that address?
It is annbergstrom.art.
So I'll put that in the show notes too.
Thank you.
annbergstrom.art. So not .com, but .art. Is that the only place that people can see your art?
I do post on my Instagram. I try and post every week a new painting, and all those paintings are also on my website, but it's fun to just get it out there on different social media platforms.
Yeah, so if somebody wanted to connect with you, they could go just search Ann Bergstrom, and then they would see your profile and be able to look at all your artwork there?
I believe my Instagram handle is Fritjof Wife.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little different.
A little different. We'll put that in the show notes too, if you can't figure out how to spell that. And so what kind of reception have you gotten from your art? I mean, everybody's looking at cool things on social media, and sometimes just accidentally happening upon a cool profile or a cool page or a cool painting or whatever. What are people reacting or interacting with you there?
Yeah, it's really fun on Instagram. I've had some really cool artists follow me and make some fun comments about some pieces that I've made, which is flattering because when I go to their page and look, they're extremely talented. And so it's just fun that they recognize my art.
That's cool. I think a lot of us feel that way. We like to do our thing and we feel like we're okay at it. And we know our parents or our family like it because they tell us that they like it. And we just sort of smile. And,
exactly.
You have to like it because you're my family. But when somebody else outside of your family points out that it's cool, that's pretty flattering.
Oh, yeah, it's rewarding for sure.
And then I think a lot of people experience this. You go and check it out. You go and look at their work and you're sort of embarrassed. Like, I mean, I've had this happen where I think I produce a pretty cool photography picture or whatever, and I go and see other people's stuff, and I'm like, they're liking my stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they're definitely eons, light years ahead of me.
Beyond, yeah.
Yeah. Does that stop you in wanting to produce art?
No, definitely not. It's interesting to me because one of the reasons I love art is it's just so relative to people. It can be anything. It can be interpreted any way. And people that are more talented than I am, in my opinion, them liking it, like, well, they see something they like in my art, so that's got to mean something.
Yeah. The style that you produce or the emotion that you put behind it is somehow connecting with somebody else.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you've been painting. Have you experimented with any other mediums? Or is it mostly just paint?
I mostly do acrylic paint, but I definitely enjoy charcoal pencils. Oil pastels are really fun. They're waxy little crayons that make really thick layers, so that's really fun. Those are really the three mediums I use the most. I haven't really dabbled in much else, but for now.
So how do you challenge yourself? You've stuck pretty much to the same types of medium, the paint or the charcoal or whatever. You're pretty comfortable there, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to go do anything, but how do you challenge yourself to produce art? What is your goal? What do you want to accomplish?
I mean, I would love to sell my art. I would love if that's how I made a living. I've sold one painting, which was really exciting. I would love to sell more, but it's definitely a scary, vulnerable thing to put yourself out there like that.
Yeah.
If someone wants to pay money for it, is different than them complimenting.
That's totally true, right? It's like they actually care enough about it to want to buy it.
Yeah.
That's really flattering. So you tell us a story. You've had somebody buy your artwork. That's got to be...
Yeah. I'm a bartender for a living, and I work at a hotel, and one of my regular guests found out I was an artist, and he said, I want to see some of your work, and I just so happened to have a picture of one of the things I had painted a couple of days before, and he was like, I'll buy that. Like, done. You name your price. And I didn't know how to price it. And so I said, how about I just mail it to you and you send me whatever you think it's worth? Because I was really unsure how to price it. And he sent me more than I thought he would. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So a couple of things that I want to take away from that experience. So you love what you're doing so much that you have pictures on your phone. So it's always with you. It's something that you're always thinking about.
Yeah.
Is that something that you just did? Were you planning on showing somebody, or is that?
Oh, no. I really, beyond my friends, close friends and family, I don't really, it's almost physically painful to show my art. It feels too vulnerable. But they had insisted on looking, and I always take pictures of what I am painting. So I showed them even when I thought that wasn't my best, and they really enjoyed it. So
that's awesome. So you've enjoyed it enough to where it's a personal fulfillment for you. You're at the stage where you're sort of experimenting with, I love this so much, and there's a possibility that somebody else might want to see it, so I need to have it with me, but I don't want to just go showing everybody. That'd be obnoxious. That'd be strange to want to show people.
I guess there's a point where I feel uncomfortable selling myself. Whereas if someone stumbled upon it, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's different then.
They happen to find you, that's safe. And it's not, I I don't know, as personal. You're not really putting yourself
absolutely.
out there.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you get into the frame of mind to paint, or could you paint at any given time?
I have to have those creative juices flowing. It's usually later in the evening, and later in the evening for me is 8 to 11 p.m.
Okay.
And yeah, once I start, I'll think I'm going to paint for 1 hour, and then I'll look at the clock and it's been 5 hours and my shoulders hurt because I've been holding the brush the same way. So
Yeah.
it's fun. Once I get lost in it, it's like a trance.
Yeah. I think people who have found what they like, whatever that is, it's really easy to get into that zone, that trance,
Definitely a zone.
but it's not something that you can just randomly do. It's almost like you have to be ready to do it.
I have to be ready to do it, yes.
Are you aware of anything that you do to get there? Whether it's meditation, or maybe it's after a nap or sleeping, or after food, or a specific kind of music maybe?
I mean, usually after like a nice margarita, I'm like, yeah, time to paint.
So that liquid courage.
Yeah. And not always, but it definitely helps.
Okay, so do you feel like you could put yourself in that kind of frame of mind? I guess I'm trying to explore this because part of the purpose of this podcast is to help people, A, recognize what it is that they love, and then B, once you recognize it, you have to start doing something with it, or it's almost like you don't care. You don't want to do it, and you don't expect anything to come from it. So could you, and I'm sure there are people that could you put yourself in that mood?
Yeah, I mean, I hear certain genres of music put me in the mood to paint. So if I'm bebopping around the house listening to music, I'll go and look at my paintings, like what could I resume? What could I start new?
So there's like multiple projects in process.
Oh, yeah. There's, 20 unfinished paintings at any given time.
Yeah, I guess I haven't done art since high school for myself. And so thinking about that process, it's like a one and done kind of a thing in my mind. It's like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get this done.
Yeah. I'm working on my version of a Starry Night right now, and the canvas is probably 3 feet by 5 feet, so it's quite large, and I'm just stuck, but it's so cool to look at, and I can't wait to finish it because it's already taken me 20 hours in.
But it's not time yet.
But it's not time yet, and I just don't know where to go from where I'm at.
That's cool. So there could be something that happens in life, and who knows what, that could possibly spur the finish of that painting.
Yeah. It'll definitely be finished one day. It just needs to be the right time so it's right.
And then there are probably people listening going, yeah, you can't push these things.
Yeah, you can't.
They just have to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
It just gave me chills thinking that there are things that there's a time and a place for everything to happen.
Yeah.
And that you can't rush. I mean, you can, but the product is not going to be what it should be.
Definitely.
So is there a type of music that you listen to, or is it all of the above, depending on how the paint needs to come out?
I mean, it definitely depends. I have a handful of genres that really just spark my creativity, like surprisingly a screamo band called La Dispute. They're awesome. They're super hardcore, outside of my norm, but for some reason I love painting to them.
That gets your heartbeat up, adrenaline up. You're
and
creative.
I usually stand when I'm painting to La Dispute, and if I'm listening to like calmer folk music, I'm usually sitting down, and it also sways the way I'm painting too. If I'm listening to the harder music, it's more emotional paintings, and my landscapes and trees are usually folk music or oldies.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense because all of the forms of art are in some way examining the thought of beauty or the process of beauty, and depending on how you're feeling, that beauty could be nature, it could be peaceful, it could be anxiety, it could be anger, it could be like there's a lot of emotions that we can feel.
Definitely.
That may or may not represent beauty or the lack of beauty.
And you can look at my paintings and tell what I was feeling when I was painting it, whether it was anxiety or complete calm, or it's all different.
So in the show notes, I want to have some links to some of the pictures that you've done, some of the paintings that you've done. Are there a couple that you could point out that because of a circumstance or because of music or because of a person or just the painting itself, a couple of examples of your favorites? either because of an experience or because of a person or because of music?
I mean, I definitely have a handful of favorite paintings. I painted a heart and colored it in rainbow colors for Pride last year. It's definitely one of my favorite paintings. It's one that my husband said I should make into a print.
That would be cool.
Because
You could put that in a lot of places, stickers and t-shirts. And
then I have a couple of anxiety paintings that I really enjoy. I deal with anxiety a little bit, and so some of my anxiety paintings really just came out exactly the way I was feeling, and I'm really pleased with them. They're kind of darker, but they're very cool.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that you're willing to go there a little bit with that feeling of that I think a lot of people deal with, is the anxiety of the unknown. If I'm worth something, or why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Or there's unknown anxiety, right? Like we don't know why we feel the way we do.
Definitely.
So do you feel like your art is a way for you to, and it's not therapy per se, but I know that there is art therapy. Is that?
Oh, it is, absolutely. Whenever I'm feeling anxiety and I paint anxiety, I always feel better afterwards. And, some people understand when they look at it, and some people say, oh, that's really dark, Ann. But it's just the way I was feeling, and it made me feel better after I put it on canvas.
Yeah.
So.
Have you had anybody express concern because of those things?
Oh, yeah.
Like they're worried about your well-being?
Ann, if you can reach out if you're not okay. I'm like, well, it's not that bad.
That's pretty awesome. I just bring that up because as a teacher working with teenagers, 15, 16, 17 years old, I've had maybe a handful confide that they have a writing journal or they have an art journal, but they can't show their parents because they're afraid of what their parents will think and or do. And that's a valid thing as a parent. Excuse me. Having kids and wanting them to be safe and wanting them. I mean, you hear stories all the time about parents who didn't know what was going on with their kids.
Yeah. And
the kids will do something or the kid will commit suicide or whatever. Maybe they didn't know that they were doing something as severe as suicide. Parents really want to know what's going on with their kids and that they're okay. But I really believe that parents need to have a communication and have the ability to talk with their kids about what they're dealing with and how they're feeling. And I think a journal or an art notebook can be that way.
Oh, absolutely.
So long as parents are willing to communicate about what their kids are feeling.
Absolutely. I agree. It's better safe than sorry. Reach out, make sure they're okay with what they're feeling.
So if your kid has a notebook or an art notebook and you're a little bit worried about how they're feeling because of how dark their art is, or maybe how emotional their poetry or their writing is, it's okay to be worried, but you should probably talk to your kids without accusing them that there's something wrong.
Absolutely, because it could just be an outlet as well.
If they're feeling crappy and they're dealing with it through writing or art and they're okay, that's a positive thing.
Yeah, definitely.
That does not necessarily mean that they are thinking about doing something terrible.
Yeah.
But then you're the parent and you've got to decide when the line,
sure.
Make
Listen
sure that your kids
gut.
are safe. Yeah. Well, that's great. So, I mean, not that anxiety is great, but that you have found something that you can deal with those feelings. And I wish that more people could find something like that. So what's the future like with you in the art world?
I mean, I would love to have that website where people can buy it if they'd like, whether it's prints.
Could somebody request, what is that word?
A commission.
A commission. Could somebody commission something with you?
Absolutely.
So somebody gets onto your website, they see, I love this style. Could you do something like this?
Definitely. I had a good friend that he lost a dear friend several years ago, and she loved owls, and he just moved into her old house, and he's like, I just sense her here. Will you paint me an owl? And so I did, and he's like, oh, it's perfect. And so
that's cool.
It was cool. It was for a friend, so it was very nerve-wracking, and I wanted it to be perfect, but yeah, it's very cool.
That's awesome. So I know that there are a variety of galleries and shows and things that happen across the Wasatch Front from Ogden to Salt Lake and even further south. Have you looked into putting any of your things there, what it would take to get into a gallery?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've thought about it. I haven't looked really intently. I got an offer in February to do an art show at the Depot, a local venue by our house. And I kind of kick myself for not doing it, but at the same time, it was with a 2-week notice, and I had to come with prints to sell, a way to process payment, help, set up a booth, and I just wasn't prepared, and I wanted it to be perfect, so I didn't do it. I declined, and I asked them to keep me in mind for future shows, which they said they would, but
that's another step in this process I want to point out for people who are trying to figure out themselves. The first step is to get into it, right? And then the second step is when people want to know what's going on, you actually have to say something about it. But then there are going to be opportunities for you to pursue your thing, whatever it is. And sometimes you'll be ready and sometimes you're not.
Yeah.
And so the next step would be, and I'm not telling you this, what you got to do, but you're now aware of what those things are and how long it would take. Maybe not how long it would take, but these are the things that I could do to be ready to when somebody else says, hey, we've got a show coming up in 6 months or 2 months or a year or whatever. And if it makes you nervous, that's probably a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. I know if it makes you nervous, it's getting you out of your comfort zone, and getting yourself out of your comfort zone helps you grow. So I really just getting prints and stuff would be the next step, getting stuff to sell.
So we should talk about getting an Etsy shop up and
definitely.
how to get a good quality printer.
Yeah, that freaks me out,
at a good price. Awesome. So keep your eye out for Ann Bergstrom art. AnnBergstrom.art. Keep your eye out for an Etsy shop in the future. And any advice that you'd like to give to people who, whether it's art or whatever it is that they want to pursue, what would you say, 1 or 2 things that could motivate or help someone get to the point where they aren't as nervous about their thing?
I mean, even if you feel stuck or uninspired or stunted creatively, just keep painting. I have so many paintings that I feel like are useless, but I still put my energy out there. It's still good practice. It's still good to keep painting regardless and learning. So just keep going, keep pushing yourself.
Awesome. That's great advice. Thanks so much, Ann, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a blast. I hope everybody has enjoyed this conversation, and maybe it has sparked something in you where you can figure out the steps to take to pursue the thing that you love, to pursue the thing that will help you deal with a lot of the negativity and frustration and things that happen in this world. So head out there, take care of the things that are important to you so that you can own your good. Thank you for joining me today on Own Your Good. I'd like to give a special thanks to Arches Audio. They are the ones that provided this awesome music. If you need anything for a project, I would go and check them out. They have a great selection of music and other services to help you with your creative projects. I hope that you found this valuable. If you enjoyed this episode and it did something for you, or you think somebody might benefit from it, please share this. It would mean a lot to me to help spread this positivity and this idea that people can change, improve, and ultimately own their good.